If you've ever tried to meditate and find your mind wandering, or found yourself feeling restless or sleepy, or thinking, I can't do this, or maybe even wondering, why is this so hard? You're not alone. And more importantly, you're not doing anything wrong. I struggled and still do with many distractions during meditation, and I was really relieved to find out that over 2,500 years ago, back in India, the Buddha himself described exactly why meditation feels difficult. In this video, I want to share that with you. Hi there. I'm Elizabeth Cronin, a psychologist and a mindfulness meditation teacher. And today I'd like to explain why it's so hard to meditate and make a few suggestions on what might be helpful. So back to the Buddha. All those years ago, he identified the natural challenges of the human mind that show up when we try to meditate. He even had a name for these. He called these the Five Hindrances. And once you understand them, you'll feel less like a failure when it comes to meditation. So before we go through them, I want to say something important. The word hindrances is old-fashioned and it might sound a little heavy, but what he's naming are really just the obstacles that show up that can get in our way. And they're not signs that you're not cut out for meditation. In fact, these obstacles are actually part of meditation because they are one of the easiest things that we can become aware of. And mindfulness meditation is really about awareness or noticing. So let's dive in and take a look at the five hindrances and some ways you might manage them. So the Buddha called the first one sensual desire. This is the desire or longing to do something that feels better than just sitting still. It can show up as thoughts like, let me check my phone for messages, or I'd like to call a friend and catch up, or I really want a cup of coffee, or we might even start humming a favorite tune. In general, it's this pull toward abandoning the boredom of meditation or the discomfort of meditation and the pull towards seeking something that's pleasant. It's called sensual desire because we're usually seeking some positive data input from our senses, from sight, sound, smell, taste, or touch. And today, in this modern lives, the pull towards sensual desire is really everywhere. When we live in a world designed to capture our attention, and it prompts us to yearn for things. We have all this advertising coming our way. And there are apps, notifications, social media, just all these endless opportunities to scroll and look for things that might please us or give us a quick hit of that dopamine. So when you sit in silence, your brain goes, wait a minute, why are we doing this instead of something more interesting? So when sensual desire shows up, here's what you can try. This is what might help. Now, I realize this might seem a little weak, but sometimes you can just try noticing and naming what's showing up. You're trying to meditate and you realize, now I'm wanting something. I'm craving. I'm having an urge to seek something more pleasant. Because sometimes simply saying silently that this is a moment of feeling some sensual desire is so incredibly powerful. One of my teachers, Dr. Dan Siegel, uses this phrase, name it to tame it. And you can try this for yourself. See if just naming or recognizing and naming what you're experiencing lessens the discomfort and lessens those urges. Another strategy that is useful for some people is just reminding yourself that nothing is missing in this moment and that anything you do want or need can wait a few minutes until you're done. Okay, so that's sensual desire. Moving on. The second is what Buddha called restlessness. And he described this as an agitated or wandering mind. He often said that he often referred to the mind as a monkey mind because it's jumping all around like monkeys jump from branch to branch. And when we take time to be quiet, it's easier to notice how our mind jumps from thought to thought, just like that monkey swinging from branch to branch. I mean, one minute we're planning for the future, and the next we're replaying something from the past. And then the next thing you know, we're analyzing things or comparing our options. Does this sound familiar to you? There's actually research from Harvard University showing that our minds are wandering nearly half of the time, and that this mind wandering is often linked to unhappiness. So again, this isn't a flaw, it's just the human mind doing what it does. When this shows up, you can try simply guiding your attention to something specific like the breath or the sounds in your environment or the feeling of your body making contact with whatever is supporting it. You could try silently counting your breaths. You might softly say to yourself, breathing in, I know I'm breathing in, breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. You can try to find something in the present moment that you can focus upon every time you notice that your mind has wandered. Don't fight or judge the mind. It is going to jump around. You simply want to gently train it by guiding your attention back to the presence. Okay, so here's number 3. The Buddha called it sloth and torpor. This is another old-fashioned term from the Buddha's day. And what this really means is it's sort of a sense of sleepiness or sluggishness or a dullness. Sometimes this hindrance turns meditation into a nap. You actually will fall asleep. This is showing up when you sort of feel foggy or you notice that you have really low energy. Maybe your head starts to bob. This one can catch people off guard because they think that meditation should make them feel calm, but instead they just get sleepy. Now, often this is because you're actually really tired and you just need more sleep. So maybe take a nap and try to meditate another time. Sometimes your body, you feel this because your body finally gets the chance to settle down and it will feel safe enough to relax. And sometimes it's because your mind is tuning out because of the discomfort with the lack of stimulation. So what helps if you notice this is sometimes you just need to open your eyes. If you're meditating with your eyes shut, just open your eyes and take in more sights. Sometimes it helps if you sit up taller and you really hold or adjust your posture in some way. You might even try standing meditation or walking meditation. Or just take a few deep breaths. Sometimes just breathing more deeply, more consciously will bring your brain back on board. And another thing to try is check the temperature of the room. Maybe it's gotten kind of warm and that's adding to the sluggishness. And again, know that if this happens, you're not failing. It's just a call for making some sort of adjustment. Okay, up next is what the Buddha called ill will. Again, kind of another dated term. But what my meditation teachers would call this is sort of aversion or resistance. It's when you feel irritation towards something or someone. This is the feeling that you just rather not be doing this. It can show up as thoughts or recognizing the feeling of discomfort. It can be the idea that I can't sit like this anymore. It could be, this is just a waste of my time. I don't want to do this. All of those kinds of phrases. And sometimes this can be prompted by physical discomfort, or it's just emotional resistance. This is such an important one because this is where mindfulness becomes quite powerful. Um, Instead of trying to escape the discomfort or trying to get rid of the unpleasant feelings by ending the meditation or by moving on to do something more pleasant, we really just practice staying with the discomfort, just sitting through whatever resistance shows up. Now, what can help is, again, softly labeling what's showing up. Just recognizing, okay, right now I'm not liking this, or I'm feeling irritation, or this is impatience. Again, it's that Dan Siegel, name it to tame it approach. So you could try it, see what happens. You can also try offering yourself some compassion. You can tell yourself, this is hard, and you can try to encourage yourself to stay present. You can also remind yourself that moments of discomfort are part of being human and that you're not alone in finding some things unpleasant. Remind yourself that meditation is challenging for most of us, especially in the beginning. You can also try getting curious. Let yourself really feel into the body. Like, how do you know that you're irritated? Where does irritation show up in the body for you? So being able to sit through aversion is in fact one of the empowering aspects of meditation. When we practice inhibiting the urge to get away from what's difficult during meditation, we find that we're developing the capacity to stay with and manage all sorts of challenges that inevitably show up in our daily life. So that's where real change happens. Okay, last but not least, we have the final hindrance, which is doubt. And the Buddha noticed that his students dealt with uncertainty about the teachings, the practice, or their own confidence that they were doing it right. And he called this doubt. It can show up as a concern for whether or not you're making progress. That's something we all worry about all the time. Are we getting ahead? Are we making progress? Are we getting better at this? It can be sort of a sneaky voice in the back of your head that is posing the question, am I doing this right? Or is this even working? Or does this really accomplish anything? Or my favorite, is this the best use of my time? But here's the truth. Doubt often shows up right before growth. So see if you can't just sit through it. What helps with this hindrance? Well, simply recognizing that it's part of the path. That can be helpful. Also, seeing the doubt as a challenge, not a valid conclusion. And also staying consistent and continuing to practice, even in the face of doubt. Even if you just do it for 2 to 5 minutes. And then you can also try to remind yourself that not every thought is true. So just because you're wondering if this is a waste of time or you're thinking it's a waste of time doesn't mean that it is. Okay, so that is the 5 hindrances, each of them challenging in their own way. And when more than one shows up, meditation can feel really hard. So what's important to remember is that you're not failing. You're experiencing what all of us have experienced, what people experienced 2,500 years ago. And because it's our nature to think, and because our mind will wander, our thoughts are going to jump from one idea to another, there are going to be days when we feel sleepy. There are going to be days when we have doubts. We will experience longings for something more pleasant than sitting here, and we will not always like how it feels. So when we meditate, we learn to respond to our thoughts in a more mindful way rather than reacting to them and letting them have too much influence over the choices that we make. So one of the most important things to remember is this. You're not trying to stop your thoughts. You're learning how to relate to them differently. And over time, that changes everything. So if this was helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe. In the next video, I'll talk about why meditation feels even harder today than it might have 2,500 years ago, and what modern life is doing to our attention. In the meantime, take care and be